Okay, Sprite Studio devlog number 5, and the last substantive devlog before release. So, in the time since my last video and this one, I have two major things to show in one smaller one. The first thing is going to be uh, selecting brushes, which effectively is a brush that selects a region of the artboard and then does something to it. So, for example, we have 4 selecting brushes now. So I'll show those off here. So for example, I have an artboard here. I can just make a copy of it just for simplicity or for making sure I don't mess something up. So with this move brush or move region, we can select areas of an artboard and then move them around. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Of course, as you see, it only selects what's in your current layer. So you only select the region. And for example, if you were to drag it out of bounds, it'll just clip out what went out of bounds. And you can undo this, of course, so you never have to worry about messing everything up. So that's pretty simple. Movement brush, pretty useful. Next we have the deleting brush. And you can see these have a different bounder color. But for example, if we wanted to delete part of this, we could just click and it's gone, and you can undo it real simple. So you can do whatever you need with this, pretty simple. This feature was pretty much already present with the eraser, but this might make it a little bit more convenient. Next we have rotate. So you can now rotate sprites. So to demonstrate that, for example, we can just select a region here and just rotate it. And you'll see that it rotates. Now as you can see, it's a little bit iffy. And this too you can undo if you need if it wasn't good. So you can rotate stuff. It's not the best rotation ever, but it's proof of concept. So yes, rotation is now a thing, and generally it's okay. I mean, obviously it'll be a lot better if you rotate on a 90-degree angle. You can see it's exactly as it was before. And if we go to scale region, this would be the last type of selecting brush. With this, you can scale up or down stuff, like so. So you can scale, I don't know what just happened there. But you can increase and decrease the size of things with scale. Maybe there's still a bug here, I don't really know. Huh. Something bad just happened. Okay, that's okay. That won't happen whenever this releases, I promise. But that was the first major feature, so these selecting area brushes. Now, we have another major feature to show, which is scripting. So scripting has been in Sprite Studio for a while, but it was more of a proof of concept. But now it's more feature complete and more along the lines of how I originally intended it. So for example, let's just get rid of everything on this artboard. Now, there's several types, but in a broad sense, there's 2 types of scripts: event scripts and brush scripts. I'll be showing both of those off. Now, as we know, last time I showed scripting, it was up here in the edit menu. You could click like run artboard script, and you can select a script. These have been rewritten to accommodate the new system, but they function the exact same way. For example, the Mandelbrot, you select the script, you give it arguments, and it produces the result. So exactly the same way as before. Now we have a new type of script, which are the brush scripts. So basically, now with Python, you can implement your own brushes and use those in Sprite Studio. You write them in Python, and it's pretty simplistic, pretty easy. And that gets me into my third thing I was going to talk about, which was documentation. I'll be publishing the whole API for Sprite Studio for the scripting. So as a script writer, if you want to come in and write your own scripts and brushes, that's going to be easy to do because every public member of Sprite Studio's code will be documented. You'll be able to look at it in Java docs. So it's not the biggest API either, so you probably won't find it to be super difficult to do. Anyway, for example, with the modifying script brush, which is a type of brush, you can select something like this, and then it's as simple as doing whatever we want. So, for example, if I increase my size here a little bit, you can see that we have this diagonal sort of line that gets drawn. That's because we selected this one diagonal brush. So this is an example brush it's an example of how to implement a brush in Python, and I'll probably be making tutorials in the future about how to write your own brushes, because just jumping into it by yourself, it'll have a bit of a learning curve. So I'll probably make videos about that in the future if this catches on. Now for selecting script brush, for example, we have like a gradient brush here. And so to select it, you can drag your little selecting region over something and click, and you can create gradients. And the code for this is simpler than you might think. So it's not like takes a lot of knowledge to implement these types of things, like a gradient brush. You could even Google how to create a gradient if you want. This is obviously a grayscale that goes from the bottom left to the top right. But it's not too difficult to do, so people will be able to create their own brushes. But here's the interesting thing, is that when this releases, Sprite Studio is going to release under early access on Steam, and when it does, it'll also have a Steam workshop. So people will be able to release scripts, and you'll be able to download the script and use it within your Sprite Studio. You'll be able to upload your own scripts, download other people's via the Steam workshop. So it'll be a way to share things. And so even though Sprite Studio isn't the most feature-rich application by default, people can add in things so the community can contribute to Sprite Studio to make it something that can do really anything that every other Pixel application can do. So pretty soon I'll be releasing my last video about my last devlog, where I'll be showing Steam Workshop integration and showing how the workshop will work, how you'll upload your scripts. That stuff's not done yet. And then next episode will be also when Sprite Studio releases to the public as early access. So stay tuned for that one, and I will see you guys later.